Senator Peters, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to each and every one of you for your willingness to serve in tough and challenging jobs, and appreciate your willingness to serve the country. Dr. Honey, my first question is going to be for you. If confirmed, you will oversee the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, DARPA, and certainly in an era of strategic competition against our near-peer threats, there's a renewed emphasis on DARPA, and I think rightly so, because of the critical work that it does. But my question for you is, how do you plan to increase the coordination and bring DARPA closer to industry, academia, and other government agencies to advance our capabilities in areas, particularly artificial intelligence, microelectronics, quantum science? We know now that a lot of some of the cutting-edge new technologies coming on board are happening in the commercial sector, they're happening in academia. DARPA clearly plays an important role, but that role has to be coordinated with all of these other entities. If you could elaborate on your thoughts on that, I'd appreciate it.
So, Senator, I agree. These are all important areas, and DARPA's role in not only leveraging what's going on in industry, but for creating new areas of research for industry and academia has been very important. At least I've seen that day to day during my 2 tours at DARPA over the 14 years that I spent there. DARPA, and I would say that all of the service labs and even more broadly, all of DoD research does need these connections exactly as you've described. And there are a number of ways that can serve to do that. COVID has had an impact, I know, on all of my colleagues in trying to do that. And so we've been experimenting with a number of ways of, WebEx, Zoom meetings, things like that, ways to try and better collaborate and coordinate. I do hope, though, that as COVID recedes, that we're able to, get to more in-person and technical conferences and whatnot. We'll be able to have greater participation in those venues as well. But I think one of the things that's key is, from the government side, from DoD, we need to be very forthcoming with our partners outside of government on what it is we're planning to do, why are we going to do it, and what are our thoughts on how to do that, and then have means of communication back in. When I left government, I went out to a small defense contractor for 2 years. I had no idea how hard it was to communicate back into government until I went there and saw it firsthand. And so I commit to you that if I'm confirmed, I will tackle these issues because it's very important to have those lines of communication if we're to succeed.
Well, absolutely, and I'm glad you've had that experience, so you know what it is on the other side and how difficult that can be, and that certainly can't happen. We need a very fluid ecosystem and an innovation ecosystem. And speaking of that, the defense innovation ecosystem generally has been calling for an expansion of DARPA. What are your thoughts on expanding DARPA? Is there a need to do that, and if so, why?
DARPA's budget has grown over the years, and I believe that it's been a very worthwhile investment, that DARPA does deliver tremendous value to the government. Going forward, of course, I support the President's budget and will look to, if confirmed, when I'm in R&E, gain a better understanding of the research that's going on, not just across the department, but we're seeing, greater opportunities for collaboration with National Science Foundation, NIH, in other departments as well. NIST has a great amount of work going on, the Department of Energy with all of its labs. So figuring out not just how much money needs to be spent, but where it needs to be spent, and to make sure that we're getting the right bang for the buck, deconflicting where necessary, are all activities that, if confirmed, I commit to support.
Very good. Ms. Fulton, the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Manpower and Readiness has purview over review boards that deal with bad paper discharges. Earlier this year, I pressed Secretary Austin to quickly and effectively implement the Fairness for Veterans legislation that I, along with members of this committee, enacted into law. Veterans who have been erroneously given a less than honorable discharge from the military due to negative behavior resulting from mental traumas such as PTSD or traumatic brain injury that wasn't properly diagnosed while they were in service certainly deserve to have their petitions for change adjudicated in a timely manner. We find many of these folks, the behaviors that they had was a direct result of PTSD that wasn't diagnosed. And while I understand that COVID-19 has added obstacles for veterans getting their records corrected, My question for you is, if confirmed, do you have a commitment, will you make a commitment to me to work with the office to ensure that review boards are making expeditious decisions and to transmit to my office data and information related to these review boards? It was estimated that we may be talking about 30 or 40,000 veterans in this category, and yet there are only roughly, I believe, 1,500 to 2,000 have actually had changes in those papers as a result of those boards. Talk to me about that, and please offer me your commitment.
Senator Peters, thank you for that important legislation that really recognizes the impact of PTSD on behavior, and it's important for our soldiers. If I'm confirmed, I commit to move out smartly on this and do whatever I can to move it along.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.